So the Las Vegas Raiders signed Marcus Mariota, and I find this to be very interesting. For one thing, when you hear 2 years, $17.5 million, your first reaction is, wow, that's a lot for a backup quarterback. But if you actually look into what they're paying him, it's not quite as bad as it seems. They're paying him $7.5 million for 2020, which is a high-end backup. That's what Bridgewater made last year. And then for 2021, he is scheduled to make $10 million, but they could cut him and not take any dead cap whatsoever. They could completely get out of that contract. So, they definitely have that option. So it seems more like this is a 1-year prove-it deal, but if they really like him, they then have an option to keep him on for another $10 million. That's kind of the better way to look at it, I would think. Now, Mariota is a very interesting story. Obviously, him and Jameis Winston, they were so hyped up in that draft class, and neither one of them really turned out to be what we thought they were going to be. Every now and then, both of them would have some really good moments that you would think was like, okay, here we go, but it didn't really work out for either of them. And for Mariota, really his biggest weakness has always been he's not the best thrower of a football, which is pretty important in the quarterback position, although honestly it's not his only weakness. But anyways, you look at this play, for example, it's going to be a cover 3 zone. They're going to run play action, and then they're going to have Delaney Walker run that route right there. It's going to try to get into a gap in coverage. This is a good play to run. This is what Tennessee likes to run constantly. And after the ball is snapped, you notice that there is a window here. It's not like this giant window or anything. This is a kind of tough throw. But at the same time, there is a window here where Mariota can make this throw, and they can pick up a first down if he makes a very good throw that allows Walker to make the catch. However, that is not going to happen. He throws it behind Walker. He is not able to hold on and make that grab. And just like that, it's an incomplete pass. And those are just the kind of misses that you just hate to see because the play worked out. That's what you were trying to get to happen. And Mariota just missed the throw. And it did seem like more often than not, when he had to make a throw for them to get some yards, he wouldn't be able to do it. The easy throws he could make, the tough throws he wasn't quite as good at. Now that being said, there are things I do like about Mariota. Like on this play, it's going to be a play action. Most of his throws with Tennessee were off of play action. That's just how they ran their offense, especially when he was their quarterback. But anyways, play action. They're going to have their fullback run out to the flat. That's going to be Mariota's first read. They also have an extra offensive lineman in the game, and he will be running that route right there. So that is just an option that Mariota has, but really he wants to hit his fullback at the flat. But after this ball is snapped, you notice that's where Mariota is looking, but you'll also notice that you see that the guy who he's trying to hit, he's not really open right here because there's going to be an Indianapolis player who's running over and closing that gap. Yes, Mariota could take this chance, but he doesn't like to take these types of chances. He much more likely will like to try to make something else happen. He's not going to make those risky plays because, let's be honest, if this isn't a perfect throw, this could result in a 100-yard pick six, which is the last thing that you want. So instead, he's going to get off to his second option, and he has an offensive lineman right there who is able to make the catch because, he was registered as an eligible receiver. So really just a good play by Mariota. And that's the kind of thing. Yes, he does get too conservative sometimes, but also he does a pretty good job of looking around, and sometimes he will find a better option when he does get conservative. Sometimes being conservative is a good thing, and that's an example of it. Although again, if we're talking weaknesses, there is one pretty big weakness that has to be brought up, and that's that he just will take sacks too often. Like, that's just something that has to be said. This play is a perfect example of it. It's going to be a cover 1 play. Those are the routes Tennessee's receivers are going to be running, and so there's several routes that could get open here. But what's actually going to end up happening is that pressure is going to get to Mariota very quickly. There is an Indianapolis player who's going to be looking over, and he sees that a halfback is blocking, so he's going to rush the passer. So it almost creates a 5-man rush, even though that's not what the play is initially designed for. And so because of this, if there is pressure quickly, Mariota should know that's where he should hit. It's a quick route that's over the middle, so he'll be able to easily get it there. It'll be underneath anything else that's going on. So really, this is the route that Mariota should look to hit. However, after the ball is snapped, you notice that it gets even better because you look and he is wide open. Because you notice that this Indianapolis player, he's saying, oh, okay, they're going to cross over here. Let's just switch. I'll stay back here. You then take him, and then we'll just switch like that. But what happens is that you look at the other Indianapolis player, he is not switching here. He is staying on his assigned man, meaning that this now means that there's a Tennessee player who is wide open, and it's the player who Mariota should be looking towards because of the situation, because there's pressure fastly approaching. He should know, get this ball off in a hurry. This is a 2nd down and 11, so getting a chunk play and creating like a 3rd down and 6 is huge here, but instead, I guess he just didn't notice it or was a bit too cautious or what, but he's just going to actually end up taking the sack, and it's just one of those moves that it just can't happen, because now you go from, honestly, that probably would have been a 1st down because of the mix-up, so you lost out on that, but even if there wasn't a cross-up, you're still gaining a few yards. You still, even like if you only gain 4 yards, now it's a 3rd down and 7, you can work with that, but a 3rd down and 17, I mean, you pretty much just have to run a draw play and punt the ball. It's almost like a turnover, but you don't lose the field position part. It's killing the drive, and you just can't let that happen. And that's just a mistake, in my opinion. But there's also some times where you can argue whether or not it's a mistake, and that's what I find very interesting about Mariota. So, like on this play, this is what I'm talking about, where you could debate whether or not it could be a good decision or a bad decision. This is going to be a cover 1 play once again, and that's going to be Adam Humphries' route. And one thing you'll notice just immediately is that it's getting right into someone's zone and coverage, and this is man coverage, meaning that he's basically going to be double teamed right here. So you would think that right off the bat, this is not the best route, although this is actually Mariota's first read on this play, which you would think is just a recipe for disaster. But after the ball is snapped, you notice that both of the Buffalo players who are covering Humphries here are further deep than he is, and since Humphries is about to cut in, you could maybe make this throw. Now, it would be a risk. You are throwing in the double coverage. You could try to throw it low, so that way it takes away a lot of that risk, but there still is a risk here, and the chance of it being a catch, especially if you throw it low, then go down, so it's debatable whether or not this is a good decision. You could argue it. So instead, what Mariota is going to do is try to run outside the pocket, but he gets sacked, so that was just a bad outcome, you know. But, I mean, him running outside the pocket, maybe he could have tried to throw it away. Actually, that's probably what he should have done. That's definitely another problem, is he doesn't throw it away too much, but also, there is some value in somebody who isn't going to make that throw, just like there's some value that you lose from someone who isn't going to make that throw. It's interesting because you'll kind of refer to Mariota as the guy who won't lose you a game but won't win you a game either, but really that's not the way you should look at it, I think. I think Mariota has a certain amount of value when he plays the game of football, and someone who maybe turns the ball over more but also throws more touchdowns might have a higher value because they push the ball downfield more than he does, which is, you know, why he's now a backup. But at the same time, there still is some value in the way that he plays. So I do think that there is some benefits for Oakland getting him as their backup. I don't see him being able to challenge Derek Carr. I don't think they're honestly even relatively close to the same quarterback. I don't think Mariota is in Carr's league. But that being said, I still think he's a fine backup. I know I've criticized him a lot, not totally in this video, but I have said some criticisms which I think are valid. But at the same time, there's one thing that I really love about Mariota, and it'll be shown on this play, where what's going to happen is that you see that those are a couple of the blocks. You're also going to see that an eligible receiver runs up to the sideline, and an Atlanta player is going to follow him. And then what's going to happen is that basically this is going to be an RPO style play, where there is an Atlanta player who is unblocked. And so what they're going to do is they're going to fake as though it's going to be a handoff, which forces that Atlanta player to run in like that. Then Mariota keeps the ball himself and runs up to the top half of the screen. This is a very Taysom Hill, Lamar Jackson type play. This is what they like to do because it gives you an extra blocker by doing this. It turns the halfback into a blocker, and you don't have to worry about him actually making the block because it's a mind block, basically, I guess, if you want to call it that. But anyways, watch how, this play works out perfectly. Mariota is easily able to run up to the top half of the screen and slides down and gets a first down. So why am I bringing that play up? Well, there is something that I think is interesting about Mariota, which is late in the season last year, you saw him get some snaps in some games. Now, not too many, but he did get a couple of snaps here and there, and I do think that maybe you could think about using him as a Taysom Hill. I think that could be a way to get value out of him in a way that you can't get with other players. Now, do I think this will happen? I don't know. John Gruden is kind of an old school style coach, but at the same time, he has been innovative in the past, so maybe he can do the same thing here and take the lead of Sean Payton, get himself his own Taysom Hill. I think there could be some value in that. That's just a thought I had, but I mean, it's something that why not? Why not give it a shot? See if you can use that kind of thing, because it does have tremendous value, especially in this John Gruden offense that loves to just focus on getting the first down, not necessarily focus on getting a ton of big plays. They get the occasional big play, but they're more about let's just methodically move down the field. Well, when you do that, you will get some third down and ones, some fourth down and ones, and that would be a great time to put Mariota on the field where he can pick up that first down, because on a play like that, there's a lot bigger of a chance of you getting 1 yard than on a passing play. There just is. So I think that's just an interesting wild card. I don't know if they're going to do that, but it would be fun if they did. But anyways, that's kind of what I think about the Mariota signing. I like it. I mean, is it a little bit high priced? Yes, but at the same time, if you can find some extra value in there that you wouldn't be able to find in a backup, it could be very good. And quite frankly, I do have to say that I do think there is a ton of value in having a good backup quarterback. Too many teams neglect it and then regret it later on. So I like the move. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments below. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.